Welcome! We are going to be trying out some of the new foundations in this video today and ranking them from worst all the way up to best, in my opinion. You may have noticed from the thumbnail that some of these foundations may not be new to you, especially if you're in the US, because in the UK we get things later than everybody else, and I do like to put foundations through their paces for multiple days before I form my opinion. So I've been testing these out for a long time. I now have everything in front of me that I need to share my thoughts and feelings with you. So we're going to go into the first foundation, which is from Clinique, the Even Better Clinical Vitamin Makeup with SPF 50. This is the Clinique Even Better Clinical Vitamin Makeup Foundation. It costs £39 in the UK. You get 30 mils or a standard 1 fluid ounce. It comes in 26 shades. I've gone for the shade Cool 4 Light Medium, which is my summer shade. Definitely not one that I can wear without a fake tan. This comes in a glass bottle with a pump. It's got a medium consistency, but it's very lightweight on the skin. Alcohol, fragrance, and essential oil free, and it is full of antioxidants. I will list all the chemical filters on the screen for you now because this does have an SPF of 50. It gives sheer to light medium coverage with a radiant finish, and it's super hydrating. The foundation is really pleasant to apply, it blends out really nicely, it melts into the skin really beautifully. In my opinion, it does apply best with a brush, but that's usually my preference anyway. I don't find this an airbrushing formula. It does need powder to add longevity and to dim down the sheen and the slight tackiness. So if you don't like a dewy foundation, you're probably going to need powder with this, but I do think it's very flattering on my 45-year-old skin. This is supposed to be waterproof, sweat and humidity resistant. To be quite honest, I didn't find that to be the case. I do think that this lifts throughout the day. I don't think it is resistant to any sort of heat, any sort of water. It does last a decent 8 hours and it doesn't oxidize. There were bits missing at the end of the day, but it doesn't look patchy on my skin. Overall, I was pleasantly surprised by this one. Usually foundations with a high SPF within the formula feel a lot thicker and feel a lot heavier on my skin, and this one felt incredibly lightweight. Next up, we've got the reformulation of the Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturizer. This version is called Natural Dewy. I've only bought this in the small version because I don't tend to use a lot of this on my face anyway, and I only use it throughout those summer months, so it would be wasted on me buying a big version, but let's go into the details. So this is the Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturizer Natural Dewy. It costs £39 in the UK, and you get 45 mils, which although is more than standard, I do feel like I need to layer this up a little bit to get the coverage that I actually like. This comes in 20 shades. I've gone for the shade 1N Birch. It comes in a plastic squeezy tube, which is really easy to squeeze out the right amount that you need. It's alcohol-free, fragrance-free, and essential oil-free, and it does have an SPF of 30 in there. It's a thick gel texture, which although is quite a thick consistency, because it's a gel texture, it melts into the skin pretty much immediately, and it is super lightweight on the skin. It applies best with fingers, in my opinion, and if it applied better with anything else, I would be the first to tell you, because finger application just really isn't my thing. It's really smoothing, but it's not airbrushing at all. There is a slight tackiness to the skin, which if you don't like that sort of feeling, you are going to want to powder this in place. I don't, however, think that powdering is a necessity with this particular formula, but it is quite a dewy, radiant finish. But if you do have a lot of texture on your skin like me, this might not be the most flattering tinted moisturizer, so you may want a little bit of powder to airbrush the skin a little bit. This lasted around about 5 hours on me, which is around about right for a tinted moisturizer. The one thing that really baffled me and surprised me tenfold was the fact that this emphasized every single dry patch on my skin, of which on the days that I tried this, I had several dry patches, especially around my mouth. This clung to those dry patches, this accentuated those dry patches. It rubbed off that area quite a lot, so by the end of the day, all you could see was dryness. So yeah, it wasn't a great look for me. Also looked patchy between my eyebrows and a little heavy, which considering this is a very lightweight formula, surprised me even more. Moving on to the Kylie Cosmetics Natural Blur Powder Foundation. This costs £29 in the UK. You get 10 grams worth of product or 0.35 ounces. It comes in 30 shades. I've gone for the shade 3C, which is actually a cool shade. This comes in chunky plastic packaging with a mirror and an application sponge. It's alcohol, fragrance, essential oil, and talc free. This is going to give you light to medium coverage. Very easy to get light coverage. Also very easy to get medium coverage straight away if you use the application sponge provided. I actually really like to use a brush with this. I find it completely effortless. It's going to give a matte finish, but it's not a flat matte finish. It's a very natural matte finish. It's super, super lightweight, and it does not look powdery on my skin at all. Possibly because I do like to add quite a bit of skincare to my skin prior to applying this. It melts into my skincare and turns this from being a powder to more of a cream product, which I really, really like, and I think it's super flattering, really airbrushing, really blurring on my skin, which works for me. This doesn't migrate into my fine lines, and it also doesn't emphasize my dryness at all, and it lasts a super amount of time. Now, this does go shinier throughout the day on me. On the day that I filmed the wear test was the day after I did my dermaplaning on my skin, and the day after dermaplaning and also the day after that, my skin is at its oiliest because you don't have any hair on the surface of your skin to soak up any natural oils. So this was slightly shinier on the day that I filmed than it would have been prior to me doing my dermaplaning. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. But all in all, I love this. Moving on to Wet n Wild. I know that if you're in the US, this has been around for months. However, I do believe this is new in the UK, or at least on the Wet n Wild gondola in Boots. It said new on it. I needed to try it. I needed to test this out. I am not a huge fan of Wet n Wild products. They tend not to sit very well on my skin, but you know, I thought I'd give it a go. So this is the Bare Focus Niacinamide Skin Tint. It costs £8.99 in the UK. You get 32 ml, which is slightly more than standard at 1.08 fluid ounces. Comes in 27 different shades. I've gone for the shade Fair Beige, which is absolute perfection on my skin. This does contain a small quantity of alcohol, but it is fragrance and essential oil free. This is full of hydrating and soothing ingredients. Comes in a glass bottle with a dropper, which infuriates me because it very rarely works. I really dislike the dropper. I wish they'd just shove a pump on this because I would enjoy using it far more if the packaging worked. This is a thick serum consistency, and it's going to give you anything from sheer to medium coverage. You can really sheer this out if you want to, or you can build it up in those areas where you need that little bit extra coverage. It's also going to give you a soft satin finish, which I think is super flattering on my skin, and it's ultra lightweight with a very natural finish. It applies beautifully, it sinks into the skin effortlessly. This is very smooth, it's very flattering. It applies well with all methods of application. Of course, I am going to choose brush application because that is my preference. It does react and break down with certain SPFs that I've tried it with, so you do need to be very careful with that. If you try this and you find that it does break down on you throughout the day, change up your SPF and see whether it does the same on the day after, because if you can get the SPF right with this, it is a beautiful foundation. It lasts well for 8 hours or more, very shiny. Could have done with a few touch-ups throughout the day, which I tend not to do whilst doing wear tests, and I do like to treat all foundations exactly the same. So if I had have touched this up throughout the day, I think the aftershots after 10 hours would have looked far, far better. So definitely bear that in mind. And last up, we've got the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Gel Tint. This is going to set you back £34 in the UK, and you get 35 ml worth of product. It comes in 15 shades. I've gone for the shade 4, which is, once again, perfection on my skin tone. It comes in a plastic squeezy tube with a nozzle for easy dispensing. This is alcohol, fragrance, and essential oil free. It does contain multi-molecular weights of hyaluronic acid plus glycerin and squalane for hydration. It's a very lightweight, light consistency gel formula that's going to give you anywhere from light to medium coverage and going to give you a radiant, silky finish. This applies beautifully with all methods of application. Once again, I prefer a brush. Be careful if you are going to apply with a brush not to apply too much around those difficult areas to avoid caking at the end of the day. So my difficult areas are around my nose, in between my brows, and on my chin area. This is very velvety soft. It's incredibly airbrushing, especially if you add a powder over the top, which I definitely recommend if you have an oily T-zone like me. It will last a lot longer with that little bit of longevity from the powder. The airbrushing effects of this tint lasts a few hours before it goes a little beyond the shininess of the airbrushing capabilities. It does get dewier throughout the day, and after the 10 hours, it looked a little textured. Very gentle on my sensitive skin. I wouldn't hesitate to wear this again, but I would wear it for less time than 10 hours. I know so many people get way more than 8 hours wear out of this, but the long wear capabilities didn't quite work for me. Let's rank these in order of preference, starting from the worst, which has to go to the Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturiser Natural Dewy for me. This didn't have enough staying power and it dried out my skin. In fourth position, we've got the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Gel Tint. Just because this is in fourth place, do not think I dislike this foundation at all. I loved this, and if I was only going to be wearing a skin tint or a foundation for 4 hours max, this would be my preference because this was my favorite on first application. So smoothing, so airbrushing, just absolutely gorgeous. However, it didn't have the longevity that I wanted, and after 4 hours it was sort of a downward slope. So yeah, it needed a lot of touch-ups throughout the day. Third place goes to Clinique, which once again didn't have the staying power that I was hoping for, but it's such a lightweight formula for an SPF formulation that it bumped it up a little bit. Plus it was all still present at the end of the day. Which one is going to be in the top spot? Well, Kylie Cosmetics comes in position 2. This is the one that I gravitate to more frequently because it is so hassle-free, very easy, very quick to apply, and looks so flattering on my skin for such a long time. This is so blurring, so airbrushing, and there is nothing powdery about it. Which brings me to this bad boy, which I have on my skin today. It is super flattering and it is £8.99. Wet n Wild blew me away. I was not expecting to like this, and I seriously did. This is the niacinamide skin tint. All present still after 10 hours, which I thought was absolutely spectacular. Yes, it was dewier. Yes, it would have been better with a few touch-ups throughout the day, but all in all, it was my number one for overall performance and cost. So that's it for this video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know if you've tried any of the foundations before and how you got on with them. Do you agree with me? Do you not? Please have your say in the comment section. I'm really eager to hear from you all. Also, please don't forget to like and subscribe before you leave. Hope to see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.